Everybody? Is everybody sleepy? No? Everybody's awesome tonight? Yeah. So while we wait for the slides to come up, just a quick question on, have any of you tried publishing in China or asked about questions in China or wondered about how, what China is about getting in China? Yes? So you, sir, you've tried getting in China? Okay, okay. All right, that's what we do. Yeah. Right. Right, perfect. Well, that's fun. Hi, everybody. My name is Owen, and I work for MyGamez. We are a Finnish-Chinese game publisher. What that means is one founder is Finnish and one founder is Chinese. We specialize in bringing overseas games, international games, into the Chinese Android app stores. So basically, all the Chinese app stores like 360, Baidu, Tencent, and all those guys. We have offices in main offices in Shanghai and Helsinki. So just a quick overview of what we've published. We've done Doodle God Blitz, Hill Climb Racing, Cut the Rope Magic, so on and so forth. Mainly casual games and arcade, action, bit of runner games. And we mainly focus on the mass market over there. All right. Oh, cool. All right, I guess I'll just wave my hand and it'll scroll. All right, wave. Yeah. No, next one. All right. So just a really, really brief interview of the Chinese app store market. I just pulled this really randomly off the internet. Basically, it's a very fragmented market with probably over 100 app stores. So the main difference with the Chinese Android is you don't just have to talk to the iOS App Store and Google Play. You have two players overseas, internationally, but in China Android, it's hundreds of players, and all of them own concurrently the largest one, like for 40%, 30%, and all these stats, they sort of mean something, but they don't because the big players eat the small players and they die off. So the ranking sort of change, but the main players are always Tencent, Baidu, 360, Wandojia, so on and so forth. The main questions is always how do I get into this market? And there's only one way is to go through a publisher or do a JV if you're large enough. Because to go in China, you have to be a Chinese entity to receive payments. So that's how controlled the market is. And I'm just gonna talk to you about not choosing the right publisher because that's a later question. The first question is, do I even want to get into China? Because there is, in a lot of views, there's a lot of risk involved, right? Piracy, will it work? So, next one. All right. So the first question I get is, will my game be pirated? It's a very, oh no, back. No worries. Yeah, will my game be pirated? It really depends on the game. And if your game is pirated, you should pat yourself on the back and congratulate yourself, because that's basically a good game. Chinese developers and publishers, they would not think twice about copying a game if it's a good game. So it's basically, to them, it means that your game has value in the market. So does it need to be in the App Store to get pirated, to get reskinned and republished? The answer is no. If it's a really good game overseas, they will find a way. They will download the Google APK, jailbreak it, and they will put it up on their own app stores. Multiple different versions. So this is actually, I think this is Diner Dash or Cooking Dash. And as you can see, there's multiple different versions below, and all these are not the official version. In fact, they are not even in China Android at the moment. Yeah. Yeah, back. All right. So if your game is really good and is pirated in the App Store, it really means that you should try your best to get in there right now, because there's many users. As you can see, you probably can't see, that's probably like 50,000 downloads, 500,000 downloads, 1 million downloads, and all these are just different versions of a game. And why is it there? Even though they have no IAP, because the app stores, they want download volume for their own ad revenue. So they'll find a game that's pulling a lot of downloads and a lot of DAU. They'll just jailbreak it and put it up on their own app stores, and then get the ad revenues from there. Obviously, not all players do it, but this is a common practice. So it's always good to have a publisher get published officially, and that's when your publisher can go to work and officially ask the app stores to take down all these pirated versions. There's no hassle. You just have to ask them, and you'll just it's gone the next day or a week. So that's the perceived risk. Piracy is really a non-issue if you are published there. Next. So how high will the localization be? In terms of game design, the main thing is if your design is very cartoonish, it's actually quite well accepted in China, as long as it's not very realistic art, like sort of a Age of Empire, where it's really drawn to look like non-Asian character or Western character. Otherwise, anything that looks cartoonish works well. So there's not a lot of thought into. We don't do a lot of localization in terms of design. The main localization or the suggestion we give is about in-game monetization. So for in-game monetization, a lot of times is when you design a game, you think about having ad revenue with the game, and that doesn't really work as well in China, because the ad system right now is not very developed across the different app stores. So the main revenue coming in from the game is through IAP in-app purchase, and how strong the game would really rely on how strong the IAP design is. So the suggestions we always give back to the developers is, you should put more hard IAP sometimes into making the users pay certain bits of the game. So this is good and bad, meaning that if your game is already well-designed IAP, there's not much you need to do to go into China, especially if your design is already cartoonish. Right. Next thing is, will my game work in China? The games I've highlighted over here is basically the Western games, non-Chinese games that are top grossing in a specific app store. So as you can see, this is actually top 10, And what I want to highlight, these games are already pretty huge international market. CSR, Cooking Fever, Asphalt, Candy Crush. So the key message here is if your game has a good game design and it has good monetization, it will work internationally. It's proven internationally, and more often than not, it will work in China as well. So the main question would be, would the genre be suitable for China? Because the Chinese audience, 5 minutes, all right. Because the Chinese audience love very fast-paced games. They like the racing games, they like shooting games, action games, runner games. But specifically, it depends on I guess I'm going to repeat myself, the pace of the game. Sorry. If it requires a lot of, if there's a lot of dead time in the game where you have to think before proceeding to something else, then it's something you need to tweak to suit the Chinese audience. So this will be my last. So I would say all of the above are the perceived risk. Piracy, localization, will it work in China? The main message is if it's good, it will work in China. The main risk about going to China is you have to work with a publisher in China, and the requirement usually is you'll have to provide your source code to the Chinese publisher for many different reasons, such as they'll need to implement a lot of SDKs. They will need to change certain feature in the game to be more, Chinese suited. And it's, this is where the risk and reward comes in. This is where you always get the minimum guarantees, the license fee. You have to negotiate that upfront. And you have to take the risk where you might get ripped off at this point once the source code is over, because you no longer have the access, and you have to just be willing to cap your losses at your minimum guarantee or your license fee, because there are also like many horror stories about overseas developers going to China, giving the source code over, and having the publisher make an exact same copy and just publish it in advance. So this is mainly the main risk is actually choosing the right publisher to trust and understanding how much you're willing to risk in terms of the upside, because you always get the minimum guarantee and the license fee as your downside. Okay. Yeah. And the reward is just one thing. It's a huge market. We get games with low retention, low ARPU, but just based on the sheer number of volume of users that we are able to generate, pretty substantial revenue for the developer, for everybody involved in the pie. So if the game is good, even though the retention, especially casual games, might be slightly lower, there is a huge enough market for your game to be worthwhile of thinking of going into China. Yep. That's it. Thank you.